From being able to run on thin air to having the power to vibrate through the molecules of anything in his way, the Flash is probably one of the most overpowered characters in the DC universe. The fastest man alive has taken on a lot of personas over the years. Honestly, there are too many to even name, but I'll do it anyway. There was Reverse Flash, Zoom, Kid Flash, the Black Racer, Daniel West, the Rival. You get the idea. There have been many of them. It makes sense that the comic shows so many versions of him, since one of the character's main abilities is that he can run through timelines and universes. But when most people think of the Flash, there's one name that comes to mind instantly, and that's Barry Allen.
Found Barry Allen.
No!
What does that mean? How can this...
This should be impossible now.
He's the OG Flash I'm sure everyone remembers from the Silver Age of DC Comics. He's also the guy who literally trained all the other speedsters, since the Speed Force was brought about after his accident. So you could say he's the father of all the speedsters, and the others are trying to imitate him.
Hey, you're the Flash. With the speeding around and the lightning and all that. Hey, big fan, man, big fan.
You would think his powers are simple enough to understand. He just runs fast, right? But that's just the tip of the iceberg. In the comics, he can use his speed to do some crazy stunts, like being a walking time machine. Case in point, the Flashpoint Paradox, where he literally erases himself out of existence by changing the timeline.
Oh, see, now that's cold. That's a betrayal. I feel stung by that.
He can actually look into any timeline he wants because he's perceiving all the realities around him. The reason why he seems so self-aware is that, theoretically, he can actually see a universe where he's just a character in a comic and could break the fourth wall if he wanted to.
When I was younger, I could vibrate between molecules, phasing through solid objects.
Yeah, mind-blown moment. With the Speed Force, he can literally think faster than any normal human being. So normal time probably seems slow to him because he's thinking at 1,000,000 miles per hour.
Come on, Barry, faster.
As you can guess, this probably comes in handy in the vigilante business. He can also vibrate his molecular structure because he's so fast.
You thought the world was slowing down. It wasn't. You were moving so fast, it only looked like everyone else was standing still.
His vibrations are so strong to the point that anything he touches can literally explode. But probably the craziest use of this power came from one of the comics, where he vibrated so hard that he made himself self-destruct and exploded into molecules. But then he made his molecules vibrate individually and moved them to literally sew himself back together again. So yeah, the fastest man alive might be an understatement. But since his debut, a lot of other speedsters have been popping up. But can any of them actually beat Barry Allen in a fight? Let's find out with Hunter Zolomon. If you watched the CW Flash show, you know Zolomon, though he is mostly known as Zoom on the show and sometimes called Reverse Flash in the comics. He's probably the fastest speedster Barry could ever go against. Around the time of his debut, Barry was actually dead. Wally West was the Flash, and the two used to be friends, until Zolomon had a terrible accident with the cosmic treadmill and vowed to fight Wally for it. But the reason he's so fast is that he actually isn't fast at all. You heard that right? He isn't connected to the Speed Force at all. His power isn't related to speed, it's related to time, meaning he can slow down or speed up time around himself and others. So yeah, technically he could run way faster than the Flash in a fight, only because he'd just slow him down enough to beat him. It's not a bad power to have, to be honest. It's let him beat almost any speedster that he's gone up against. But the fact that he isn't actually a speedster makes his inclusion in this list a bit sketchy. This next version of Flash is actually second in terms of being the most famous next to Barry. That would be Wally West, aka Kid Flash. Probably known as the fastest Flash, West, in his prime, has gone way past what Barry was capable of, but it took him a long time to get there. Before Barry died, he was the Kid Flash, and making the transition to the only Flash on the planet was tough on him. But when he did finally get to that level, he learned things no one else had before. He discovered how to tap into the Speed Force directly and get speed from it. This is what makes him so much stronger. Even Barry wasn't able to escape from the Speed Force at his will, whereas Wally could enter and leave it whenever he wanted. His mastery of the Force was so great that he even constructed his suit out of pure energy. So if he went up against the old Flash, he would actually beat him to a pulp. Like, come on. He can literally outrun death itself, and can even teleport because of how fast he is. No competition. Fans like him more than Barry because he's more of a relatable character. He goes through more struggles and actually works way harder to become a better hero. Though, in reality, the two wouldn't ever fight because they're both good guys. That can't be said for this next speedster, however. Godspeed is one of the most dangerous runners in the comics. Even though he's a pretty new character, he's a scary addition to the world of speedsters. His actual name is August Hart, and he was actually with the CCPD before his brother got murdered. And after a freak Speed Force storm that caused a lot of people to tap into their speed, he got a strange set of powers. He can run extremely fast, and gets faster to absorb more speed. In the comics, he just went around undercover as an officer, since his connection to the Speed Force is so strong. Gathering up victims from the storm, he would take their powers for himself. He got so strong that it actually took Barry, Wally, and a couple of other speedsters to finally stop him. So, if you were going to compare who would win in a fight, not taking into account intellect and manipulation, my money is safe on Godspeed. But the Flash's most famous rival is not one to be taken lightly either. Reverse Flash is quite literally the perfect opponent for the Flash. Every time Barry defeats his greatest foe, a new version of Eobard Thawne takes his place as the Reverse Flash and ups the stakes. The two are fated to be in a ruthless battle for all of time. He's actually from the future and used to be the ultimate Barry Allen fanboy. But a future version of himself showed him how he was supposed to become his greatest villain instead. He lost his mind after finding this out and worked on developing the negative Speed Force, which literally works off leeching Barry's speed. It gave Thawne the power to stop time and travel through multiverses whenever he wanted, and the first thing he got to do was to delete the Flash from existence. The two have been put up to a fight many times in the comics and in movies, and the result is always too close to count as a win for any side. Thawne's intellect and disregard for human life will always give him the upper hand, and is the reason why he often ends up winning over Barry. So if you consider a one-on-one fight, it's almost impossible to tell who would win. Well, that's all for the Flash versus other speedsters, and now you know who would win in a fight.